Could Europe dump US treasuries? I mean, I absolutely believe so, and that's coming from an American. I mean, which would lie? I'm telling the truth. I feel like if Europe were to dump the US right now in all aspects, it would not negatively affect their economy whatsoever. But it'll leave us screwed though. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today once again on this beautiful, marvelous day. I hope your day was fulfilled with nothing but joy and positivity. All my new supporters joining us for the first time, welcome to the family. This video was not recommended in any type of way, but boy, was it on my recommendation feed. Best believe I had to react to this one. Let's jump right into this. Feel free to follow the Twitch, Patreon, and all my other channels in the description down below. And let's learn about how Europe could possibly be dumping US treasuries, leaving us behind, leaving us in the past, leaving us for dead. This ain't funny, man, but like, the stuff that's been going on.
As transatlantic tensions over Greenland have escalated, European policymakers have started desperately scrambling around to find some leverage over Trump's America. Attention has duly turned towards the trillions of dollars worth of American financial assets owned by Europeans, including a couple $1 trillion worth of US government bonds, and the possibility of a coordinated sell-off, which would spark panic in the US financial markets and probably push the US government into a full-blown debt crisis. This might sound implausibly far-fetched.
Full-blown, you say? Hey, because you know we're already in debt.
Coordinated sell-off.
Debt. Shit. History. We've been in debt. I mean,
which would spark panic in the US financial markets and probably push the US government into a full-blown debt crisis. This might sound implausibly far-fetched, but the ideas apparently gained enough traction that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent felt the need to say something, telling reporters on Monday that it would defy logic and urging European leaders to take a deep breath. So in this video, we're going to look at whether Europe could actually dump US assets en masse, why the answer is probably no, and why there are still some less extreme ways for Europe to weaponize America's underappreciated dependence on European money.
Word. And what's with that America, judging all these other countries' monies? If anything, we the weird ones. We are literally the odd ones left out. Look at everybody else's currency. We the only ones with the plain green dollar bill. Hey, dollar bill. It's supposed to be worth so much American dollar, but the shit ripped when you put it in the washer by accident. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up? Like, stop critiquing the money and the currency out there in the other countries because it's better than ours. We don't care which dollar's worth more. It ain't showing it. It obviously ain't showing it.
European money.
For real. I'm talking about rip so easy. Ain't nothing to it.
If you love staying informed and want some of the best reporting on YouTube, then subscribe and ring the bell for more. So, to understand this idea, you need a bit of context. In short, Europeans own a lot of American financial assets. According to an analysis of Federal Reserve data by the Financial Times, European NATO members own a grand total of $12.6 trillion worth of US assets, about a third of all foreign holdings. Most of this is in the form of US stocks, because Europeans really like investing in the S&P 500. But Europeans also own about $2.8 trillion worth of US government bonds, or about 10% of the entire market. For context, bonds are financial instruments that governments use to borrow money. They basically say, we'll sell you this bond for a lump of cash up front, and then pay you a little bit of interest every year until the bond matures, at which point we'll pay back the lump of money, otherwise known as the bond's face value. US government bonds are generally known as treasuries because they're issued by the US Treasury. Importantly, however, the effective annual interest rate, or yield, on a bond can change if markets decide they don't want to pay the face value. For instance, imagine a bond with a face value of $1,000 offering an interest rate of 5%. If the markets suddenly decide they only want to pay $900 instead of $1,000 for that bond now, whoever buys it would effectively be paid a higher yield. After all, $50 is more than 5% of $900. It's more like 5.5%. And after 10 years, this new bondholder would also get an additional $100, because the US would pay back the full $1,000 face value, but this new bondholder only bought the bond for $900. This means the effective yield would actually be over 6%. Anyway, the suggestion here is that Europeans could suddenly sell off all their treasuries en masse. This would massively push down the price of treasuries, thus pushing up the effective yield.
Yep.
This would be terrible news for the US government, given its debt burden already looks pretty unsustainable. America's debt-to-GDP ratio currently sits at about 120% of GDP. It's running an annual deficit of about 6% of GDP, and yields are already elevated by historical standards. The yield on a 10-year Treasury, for instance, currently sits at about 4.3%. A sudden increase in yields, which would both make it more expensive to issue new debt and service existing debt, could genuinely push the US into an acute fiscal crisis. So, could this actually happen? Well, while this idea might have an intuitive appeal, there are at least three big problems. First, while precise numbers are hard to come by, most of Europe's US assets are held by the private sector, so it's not really clear how European governments could force private institutions to sell their holdings without an unprecedented intervention. Second, even if European governments could somehow force the private sector's hand, a mass sell-off would probably force Europeans to accept large losses on their US assets, given they'd have to sell at discounts
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You're going to be losing a lot of money. 20% off, 30% off, extra sales. You just try to get it off like it's basically a yard sale, basically. And to get it off so fast at such a high rate, you got to go public with it. We got to go on TV. We got to have a speech. We got to do something and make it known to the world, which means the U.S. and Trump will see that. And then it's, oh gosh. I mean, well, I'm pretty sure Trump's not going to pick issues with the whole EU, right? Let me shut my mouth. Let me shut my damn mouth. Let me shut my mouth. For real. I think, coming out of America, I feel like it's a good deal. Now, we got to look at how long it might take for Europe to make that money back. Where are you going to get these other goods from, Like how you did for the U.S. There's other countries. There's definitely other countries. But there's a couple issues the EU would have to worry about. Would it be so possible without damaging your economy? I don't think so. But let's just say.
To accept large losses on their US assets, given they'd have to sell at discounts to find enough buyers.
Right.
And third, while a crisis in the treasury market might screw the US, it would also screw Europe. This is because the American and European economies are deeply interdependent, especially when it comes to finance. This was very apparent in 2008. While the crisis obviously originated in America, European banks were actually more acutely affected, which is why about half of the Federal Reserve's liquidity support actually went to European, not American banks. This speaks to an oft overlooked element of that crisis. The Fed didn't just bail out America, it also sort of bailed out Europe.
Yeah.
Anyway, you get the point. A mass sell-off of treasuries is essentially the financial equivalent of a nuclear strike, bringing with it the promise of mutually assured destruction. Nonetheless, there are other ways for Europe to weaponize its US assets. We see at least three less radical options. The first is a managed sell-off of treasuries held by the European public sector, including sovereign wealth funds and pension funds. This could push US borrowing costs up to uncomfortable levels without triggering a full-blown crisis, and allow Europe to exercise leverage steadily during any negotiations. The second is some sort of regulatory fiddle to make treasuries less attractive to the private sector. We don't want to get too nerdy here, but the most obvious move would be for the European Central Bank to assign what's known as a risk weight to treasuries. This would basically make treasuries less...
A risk weight?
We don't want to get too nerdy here, but the most obvious move would be for the European Central Bank to assign what's known as a risk weight to treasuries. This would basically make treasuries less attractive to banks, which are legally required to hold a certain amount of risk-free assets. The third is a regulatory fiddle to make American stocks less attractive. Europeans love buying American stocks, and for good reason. The main American stock index, the S&P 500, has performed remarkably well over the past few decades. However, European governments could tempt European money away from US stocks into European ones by offering, say, preferential tax treatment for investors who invest in Europe. This might sound a bit heavy-handed, but...
do that? I didn't know Europe can actually do that. if you guys have the power and the strategic ideas to actually do such thing, at least on the stock level, then how come you guys haven't shifted? Because we do know the U.S. stocks have been plummeting lately. I myself have been bullying out. Ooh, you know, because it's bad. It's really bad, and everything has shot down. Everything has a high decrease in the U.S. Anything towards the U.S. is decreasing, as far as like stock wise and everything. It's gonna be a few decades until we actually see these stocks increase in certain things. Or should I say a lot of things? Mostly everything. Mostly everything. I feel like Europe could pull out right now and focus on stocks within their own country. Now, what does this better as far as like, I don't know, maybe economy wise? What would this do for Europe? How could this better Europe if you guys were to say, okay, we're not gonna so much, invest into your stocks. Rather, we're gonna invest into ours. Would it still be the same like type of thing going on, or what would be the benefit now that you guys are in charge handling all of that? Because that's going to screw a lot of people over as well, isn't it? Like, would that screw people as well in Europe? Like, if you guys were to, I guess, make that transition? Because you're basically losing what you had put into these stocks out here. It's like starting from scratch, or would it not work that way? My questions hey, forgive me if I'm asking too many questions, guys. Forgive me if I'm asking too many questions. I don't want to confuse anybody or anything. But if you guys understand this a little better than me, please feel free to educate me in the comments down below. Feel free to answer my comments, my questions on this video. Yeah. Give it to me
It's
raw,
an
man.
idea that European politicians are becoming increasingly interested in. Individual tax treatment for investors who
I just want to hear this part one time.
decades. However, European governments could tempt European money away from US stocks into European ones by offering, say, preferential tax treatment for investors who invest in Europe.
Preferential tax treatment. I'm sorry, I gotta look it up. Preferential tax treatment? What is preferential tax treatment? Is it like a benefit, like towards like a bribery of, I guess, something maybe for the people of EU? Wait, preferential tax treatment refers to tax rules that deviate from standard tax law to reduce liabilities. Deviate. I'm sorry, guys. Deviate from standard tax laws to reduce liabilities. Preferential tax treatment. Wait, refers to tax rules that deviate from standard tax laws to reduce liabilities from specific taxpayers' investments or income types. Often called tax expenditures or tax breaks. These include lower rates on long-term capital gains. Okay, I'm understanding. Qualified dividends or specific deductions, exemptions, and credits. I'm understanding this now. Okay. This part right here was a little tricky for me, guys. So please, thank you for all the patience. Thank you so much. I know we got people that skip past it if you don't want to go through that, but please, somebody help me understand this in the comments. Well,
European governments could tempt European money away from US stocks into European ones by offering, say, preferential tax treatment for investors who invest in Europe. This might sound a bit heavy-handed, but it's an idea that European politicians are becoming increasingly interested in. In the UK, for instance, Chancellor Rachel Reeves was apparently considering something called a Brit ISA, which would have offered tax perks to Brits who invested in UK stocks.
And that's what I was asking before, like some type of, I don't want to say bribery, but like some type of benefit when it comes to like taxes or something, some type of benefit for the people. Like, hey, invest in the EU stocks, let's get our stocks going. Let's shoot our rates up, send them to the sky, because we know that the US stocks is plummeting. Well, what are we invested for? There's no hope in that right now. You guys will be more stable when it comes to that. You have more control. You guys aren't as, I say the EU isn't as bipolar as America. So you guys aren't looking in the future like, oh, we're going to have these relationships ruined. People are going to back out of our stocks because we're going to screw this up, or this or that. No. Only the America is unpredictable like that. This is literally what I asked. Okay, I'm so glad that I'm understanding this. I'm so glad I'm actually understanding this, man. I'm so glad I'm actually understanding this. Basically like a perk as far as like with the taxes and everything. Just to invest with the EU rather than America? How many people are putting their hands up for that? And it's already in the talks, so this could be possible. Oh, wait. Oh,
In the UK, for instance,
so what does that mean for American stocks? Can we, partake? Can we become shareholders within EU stocks? Or no, is it just strictly for the EU? Like people that they are most certainly definite, that will support the country and the stocks and not back out. Like I said, US people are unpredictable. If they feel a certain way as far as how they feel with the politics, this and that, or we don't know how the EU feels about their president. We have some people that like our president. They could back out the stock. Well, screw that. And that could mess your rates up, right? So, like, would you let Americans like partake in these as like shareholders or no? Not even a chance. Let me know, please. Please let me know. I'm asking for. I'm lying. I'm asking for myself. I'm asking for myself. For real.
Here that
Oh,
European
like a friend. I
politicians
ain't
are
got no
becoming
friends. I got
increasingly
y'all.
interested in. In the UK, for instance, Chancellor Rachel Reeves was apparently considering something called a Brit ISA, which would have offered tax perks to Brits who invested in UK stocks. It's also worth noting that lots of countries already use tax perks to make their bonds more.
So other countries are literally using these tax, perks and tax bonds.
It's also worth noting that lots of countries already use tax perks to make their
Tax perks against the US. So other countries been thinking about this. Why rely on us? I know. And us as independent nations, I feel like this is something that should happen. Everybody should invest in their own stocks. Because me keeping it real, guys, I don't want what's going on in the world and with the politics and stuff to affect what you guys got going on out there. It's just not fair, especially as a business and a shareholder, a partner. No, that's not fair. It's not fair. So I agree with this 100%. Yup.
their bonds more attractive.
We
In the
need to
US,
do
for
this.
instance, interest on treasuries is exempt from state taxes. So, doing something similar to make your stock market more attractive doesn't feel like too much of a leap. This could be a particularly effective way of exercising leverage over Trump at the moment, given the US stock market is currently looking pretty bubbly, and a substantial
Oh my gosh, I got so many questions, bro. Oh wait, so say you do let Americans invest into the EU stocks, and say we are what's the word? Reliable. We are reliable, and yeah, we're loyal. We're not going nowhere. Let's say like me. Say I want to invest. I feel like I should access this towards the end of the video. I don't want to go on a rant, guys, but I got too many questions.
leap. This could be a particularly effective way of exercising leverage over Trump at the moment, given the US stock market is currently looking pretty bubbly, and a substantial redirection of European funds from America into European stocks could be the prick that pops it. This would be terrible news for the US economy, given how much it currently relies on wealthy Americans, but with less risk of spillover into Europe or systemic dysfunction in transatlantic financial markets.
So I don't gotta go through the ups and downs of our stocks. If the EU let us, we could invest. If we were reliable, if we were serious about this. I don't know what type of procedures it may be. We probably won't be able to invest as easily. But we are allies. We should be able to invest as easily as you guys. But let's just see that we can't take no chances. We cannot take chances. And as our own nations, sovereign nations, our own independence, we need to invest in our own countries. So I'm not going to be mad or upset with any procedures you guys have or give me a hard time trying to invest over there. Because what about the Americans that don't want the negative effect of these stocks? Why we got to get screwed with it too? Now, regardless, our economy is getting affected because businesses are shutting down. People aren't making that much money. We're not investing into that much stocks. Hell, we not making that much money from our stocks because our stocks are dropping. So what about the innocent people that are rocking with your side? They don't believe not believe, or should I say, they don't follow what's going on in this country. Nor do we agree with what is going on right now. So will we be able to just invest and receive those benefits you guys are receiving too? Now, I understand we might not get the tax benefits because we don't live in the EU. But at least get the benefit of an increased stock rate? What? Just to see stocks flowing and going up We don't have to partake in our country stocks, but let's partake in the EU's if that's possible. If that's possible. I'm sorry for asking so many questions, guys. Please forgive me.
Now,
Seriously,
you're probably
seriously.
looking to follow
I'm
this
so sorry.
story as it develops. But how are you supposed to keep track of which outlets online are actually trustworthy, and which are just fabricating a false narrative for you to follow? Well, that's where our sponsor this week, Ground News, comes in.
I
That's
like Ground News. Let me keep it
because
100
Ground
right
News
here.
is a website and app that helps you make over all of those articles in
I know all about this
not
right here.
what for you. And breaking out of that spiral is harder than ever. Ground News will do that for you, freeing you from algorithmic.
Yeah, this was an amazing video. Was that actually the end of this? I am very familiar with Ground News. I actually check their site out on a daily basis. Yes, I do. Because we do know that this source is not getting shown in the US. They're not going to promote stuff like this. And it's a shame that I was only able to find a source like this directly from his channel. When you look it up, nothing comes up like this pertaining to these type of sources and stuff for the EU and other countries. It's like it's like they block it. It's like they block it out here. I don't know. Oh my gosh. If you guys enjoyed this video, please feel free to share your honest thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Feel free to educate a brother. I'm just trying to learn. I'm just trying to understand more about this. Especially as a loyal, reliable ally. You know what I'm saying? You guys don't have to worry about me. You know, business partner, shareholder, should I say. Can I partake in this? Let me know in the comments. Feel free to answer all of my questions. I don't care if you type in paragraphs because I understand. I be blabbing on sometimes just talking. You know, I didn't want this video to be too long. So please feel free to educate me and include whatever you feel you need to in the comments so that I can understand this some more and so that other people around the world can also understand this, you know, as well as my fellow Americans who want to partake as well, who don't want to experience the decrease in stocks, the negatives of what is going on within our country, because it's not fair. It's not fair. So can us, you know, the people of the economy, save ourselves if the government isn't going to save our economy right now? Can we at least save ourselves and come jump on yours? Can I invest in your country? I love y'all so much. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and turn all post notifications on. Feel free to share this video and channel to your friends and family members. Feel free to follow the Twitch, follow the Patreon, and all my other YouTube channels in the description down below. I still got questions. Look, I'm gonna be stalking the comment section, and I'm gonna be replying to you guys specifically on this video. I have so many questions. Seriously, if you guys want to DM me, if you want to email me, like you guys already do, feel free. We could chit chat about it. You know, feel free to actually follow the live streams though, because we will be discussing these type of topics on my Twitch. It won't just be BS. You know, we'll watch funny content and stuff like that, but it will be about real stuff. Strac like to talk about real stuff in this world because too much BS is going on while we are being distracted in this world fulfilled with nothing but propaganda. Do I need to keep going? Stay safe, my people. I love y'all, and I hope to catch you on the next reaction video.